Hello, this is AstrologerCoach Sonja Francis, and today we're going to be talking about the upcoming full moon, which will be in almost 12 degrees of Sagittarius, and it's going to be exact on June 2nd at 12:19 p.m. East Coast time in the US, which is also New York time, or 9:19 a.m. Pacific time, which is also LA time. Now, any full moon is a more extroverted and emotional time, and this time around we're being invited to really unify the mind with the heart, so we can discover the world of possibilities and new possibilities in our world. And so for the next 2 weeks, we're really kind of looking for balance between two polarities and that need to be brought into alignment. And the polarities in question are the Gemini and the Sagittarian polarity. So Gemini is all about mental processes, and Sagittarius is all about the quest for the larger truth. So it's important to realize that the Sagittarian energy urges us to go beyond everyday interactions and anything that's familiar. And this is really essential for our growth process, because we need to be able to stretch and go beyond what we know to be true from our immediate environment, right? And this plays a really crucial role in how we interact with others and how we share our knowledge, which that is connected to Gemini. And so Gemini and Sagittarius, they need each other. They support each other and they need each other, which is true for all oppositions, which is true for all opposites. They need each other to balance each other out. So Sagittarius really shows us a wider perspective, one that has us look beyond facts and beyond the learned knowledge from our immediate environment, or from what we know in our day-to-day experience. And it wants us to go to our direct life experience and gain wisdom from what is true for us in the moment, or what is true for us from going outside of what's the norm or what's the normal for us, right? So it's definitely a very adventurous energy, the Sagittarian energy, right? And the Gemini energy really wants us to stay connected to our day-to-day mind, to our immediate environment, and to processing and sharing information as fast and as much as possible. And of course, with that many planets in Gemini right now, we have been feeling very strongly this sense of like needing to connect, needing to share, needing to do things fast, and there's a sense of restlessness in us, of course, with all that Gemini. And so the question really here is, how do we step off the information treadmill? Because this is really sort of like a modern day issue, isn't it? That there's so much information coming our way, and from so many different directions, with the internet, with TV, with the phones and everything. There's just all this stuff that we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. So how are we able to really connect with that in a way where we don't feel like we're spinning out of control, or we're overwhelming ourselves with all of that, right? Now, Mercury, which is the planet that belongs to Gemini, is currently retrograde in Gemini, in its own sign. And so this is really helping us a little bit with this process, because it's pointing our attention inwards. And so thereby we're really developing a more conscious connection to our inner dialogue, and to also become more aware of, like, how do we communicate with ourselves and with other people, and how do we interact with the world, and how is that helping us or serving us, right? So some questions you can ask yourself with this full moon is, how do I communicate? How do I talk to myself in terms of like the inner critic? Like, do I criticize myself? Do I question myself or doubt myself a lot? Do my communications promote separation, or do they promote connectedness and unity with myself and others? And we may want to consider that when we are promoting separation, whether that's just because of our own inner dialogue that we have with ourselves, or whether that is because of our thoughts that we have about other people or about life, or our direct communication that we have with another person, we may want to consider that whenever we're in separation with that, where we're analyzing or putting things, where we're pulling things apart, right? That we're really that's sort of like a form of violence in a sense, anything that's connected to judging or criticizing or blaming or labeling things, people, life in certain ways, conditions, right? It's a form of violence in a sense, because we're pulling things apart rather than unifying, rather than coming together, right? So again, whether that happens internally or externally, it doesn't matter, right? It's all one thing. Now, another planet we want to take a look at for this full moon is Jupiter, because Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius, and Jupiter currently is in Leo. And it makes a really beautiful Grand Trine with Uranus in Aries and the moon in Sagittarius. So this really supports us in stepping more bravely into the world, embracing our own individuality a little bit more. And we're also able to connect to new ideas. We have more enthusiasm for ourselves and for others and for something new, and we're more able to take risks. And we have also the ability to have a different perspective about what's new and unusual or different, whether that's within us or outside of us in the outside world. So this is a very supportive and very beautiful energy that supports us with this full moon. Another planet that's very important in this full moon is Neptune in Pisces for two reasons. One is that it's stationing at the time of the full moon, which means that the energy of Neptune is more exalted. It is stronger currently because it's slowing down and coming to a halt because it's getting ready to go retrograde. But it's also making a square to the full moon and also all the other planets that are in Gemini right now. So there's a very clear message here, which is that we really need to stretch and grow right now and slow down and go within. Because the Gemini and Sagittarian energy are both extroverted energies, and they're both very busy energies. They have a lot of energy to them. Neptune in Pisces invites us to go within and to slow down. And so as best as you can, really take this as an opportunity to really make space for daily rituals such as meditation or time in nature, going for walks, and other things that really support you to get more fully connected to your spiritual self and to spiritual practices, to your creativity and to your heart, right? Because Neptune is really another way of how we perceive and how we know things, right? Because yes, we can do that with the mind through Gemini, right? Through reading books or getting information over the internet or through other people. Or we can get it through Sagittarius, where we're learning about new things and different things, where we step out of our comfort zone. But we're still kind of using the mind for that, right? And Neptune is all about our intuition, which is non-linear. It's about our sensing. It's about an intelligence that is far greater and far beyond that of logic and analysis. So it really supports us to tap into the knowledge of the universe through Neptune. We can do that, and the way for us to access this knowledge and to access this connection to the universe is by slowing down and tuning in and tuning inwards, really getting connected to what we're sensing, what we're feeling, what we're experiencing in the here and now. So it's really about switching to a different operating system in a sense, because we're so used to being in the logical mind and being in analysis and looking at life through duality, that we've been so used to doing that with the modern world that we are no longer really in touch with this other side of ourselves, which has always been there and is always there. And that's the side of the intuitive self and the sensing self, and the more where you're feeling this connectedness to everything around you. And so this is definitely available to us, to everybody that is available. It's just that we've pushed it aside and we've ignored it for a very long time because it wasn't part of what was required in the modern world. However, now that the world that we live in is getting speeding up, it's getting faster, and as it's getting faster and we're living in this fast-paced world, we're needing something else to guide us besides our mind. Because if we're only dependent on our mind, we're going to feel really overwhelmed and we're going to really spin out of our center and we won't feel connected to the here and now. And the here and now is where we have control and where we have influence. So it's very important to stay connected to the here and now. It's very important to get centered in the here and now so that we can feel empowered. Because when we constantly stay in our mind activities and in our logic and in our analysis, then we're moving constantly from the past to the future, from the future to the past, and back and forth. And we have no control and no influence over the past because the past is already gone. And we have no control and influence over the future because the future hasn't happened yet. So where we create our future is from the now, from the moment of now. And so this is where we have the most control and influence. And this is where we can feel most empowered. And this is why this is so important for us to really get connected and tap into this knowingness, this other knowingness that's connected to our heart, that's connected to our intuition, because that really connects us to a much greater resource, which is the universe. It connects us to the whole universe, and what can be more powerful than that, right? So obviously, the busier we get, and the more distraction and information we take in on a daily basis, the more we really need to quiet and get centered in this more spiritual, intuitive place. So we need this quiet, meditative time, right? And so even if it's just a few minutes a day, even if just before we're moving to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing, if we can just take a moment and just get connected to the here and now, get connected to our heart center, and just take a deep breath and just allow ourselves to be present with what is instead of already being in the future with whatever is coming up next, that can be very, very helpful. So centering ourselves in our hearts is definitely going to be the most valuable tool of the 21st century. So anything that helps you and supports you with that, any tool that you might have in your toolbox that connects you to being more centered and being more connected to your heart is a valuable tool to use on a daily basis. So, when we're really able to do that more often than not, we're going to be less reactive towards life. We're going to make less errors in life. We're going to see alternatives, and we're going to be able to think outside the box a little bit more and be more creative. And we also are going to feel more peaceful and more productive when we're able to do that. So there are so many benefits to really connecting to the present moment and to really getting dropping from the head into the heart. And with the moon in Sagittarius, we're getting an opportunity here to really explore new avenues, explore new ways of how we can do that, right? So question here that you can ask yourself, how can my mind be of service to my heart? And you can ask yourself that every time you get up in the morning. You can ask yourself that every time you go to bed at night. And maybe listen in when you have dreams or when you sleep at night. As you wake up in the morning, what's the first thing that comes to you? What do you feel intuitively connected to right away? That's usually a very powerful time, right when we wake up in the morning or right before we go to sleep. That half sleep, that time where we're sort of half asleep, half awake. Very powerful, intuitive time. Now, the greatest gift that we can give to ourselves and to the world is being of service to others and to the world. And this is really what helps us get connected to humanity. And so through these tools that we have to get more present, we're going to be able to give more of ourselves to the world and to ourselves, and we can connect more to peace and happiness. So one thing that you can also try with this full moon for the next 2 weeks is try to step into what is called in yoga beginner's mind. And beginner's mind really means that we're just seeing everything as if we were seeing it for the first time, as if we have no reference point to it in the past or in the abstract. So it's basically just kind of being really present and just seeing things as they are in that moment. And that can be really, really helpful. And it can really help us to also trust what we feel and what we intuit in the moment. And sometimes clients will ask me, like, how do I know if it's intuition that's talking to me? How do I know? How can I differentiate what it is, if it's my mind or if it's my heart talking to me, right? And that's a really valid question. And I always say, you know, when it's your heart talking to you, it's a very loving voice. It's a voice that's gentle. It's usually very subtle. And it's not a voice that's persistent. It's not a voice that goes boom, 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 like the mind does, right? Like the mind very often will go like this, you know, and there will be sort of like a loop that you're in, and you kind of like keep the same thing over and over and over, keeps showing up. Intuitiveness or intuition is not that way. It's gentle, it's kind, it's loving. It's just sort of like something that arises and then it leaves again. And then it may come back again at some point, but again, it's always very subtle and it just arises in a very, usually very loving way. Okay, so that's how you can differentiate and really look to what's true right here, right now, because very often intuition will communicate to you when you're very present, when you're able to be in the here and now. Right? So any tool that helps you with that, any tool that helps you to be really present, use it, connect to your heart and to your intuition for the next 2 weeks. And also remember that whatever it is that works for you, you know, that's great. If you don't have anything that works for you yet, then feel free to reach out and talk to me. Personally, what I have been using for the past 9 years is called the Sedona method, and it's been a fantastic tool for myself and for my husband. And it's also the thing that I use in my coaching when I work with people one-on-one via Skype and phone. And it's a really amazing tool that is very gentle, that works very quickly, and it really gets you very present in no time. So I love it for that reason, because I like to move fast, and that's my Venus in Gemini, likes to move fast. But I also like to really get connected to the heart, because I've got Mars in Pisces, right? So for me, that works really well. If you want to explore, if you want to experiment, feel free to reach out and ask me for a coaching healing session. I'd be happy to introduce this tool to you. If not, if you have your own tools already, great, use them, keep using them, especially for the next 2 weeks, because you're going to feel a lot of nervousness and lots of information, lots of moving parts will be in your presence. So it is definitely good to have those tools in your toolbox. Now, what's also important is that if we can give ourselves this on a daily basis, we're definitely going to feel more empowered, because the empowerment happens in the here and now. And this is also where we create our future from, in the here and now, because that's where the energy goes, right? And the past is already gone, the future hasn't happened yet, so here and now is it. This is it. This is where we have influence. So one other thing that I wanted to mention in relationship to the full moon is that it's also a really great time to charge up your crystals. If you have any, if you're interested in that, I usually always, you know, have one in my hand or work with crystals or stones for different reasons and different things. My friend Krista Mitchell, who is the rock whisperer, knows a lot more about that than I do. I have actually no clue, but I just know a little bit from what she's taught me. And so one thing I do know is that the full moon is a great time to charge up your crystals, especially if you have a selenite wand, which is like a white long piece that helps you with clearing your aura and clearing debris or energetic debris from your aura. If you just put that into the moonlight for a couple of hours, they get cleansed and recharged, and you can also cleanse and charge other crystals with your selenite wand as well. So that's usually what I do during the full moon. If that's of interest to you, you can also check out Krista's videos and her website at rockwhisperernyc.com, and you can get more information there as well. All right. Now, if you do have any personal planets or points in 10 to 14 degrees of Sagittarius, Gemini, Virgo, or Pisces, then this full moon is definitely going to be more potent for you. If you don't have those degrees and those signs in your natal chart, then take a look at the house placement that the sun and the moon fall into in your birth chart by degree and by sign. So that would be, 12 degrees of Sagittarius and 12 degrees of Gemini. You would look to see where is that in my birth chart. And those houses will be areas of your life where you need to create some balance and where you need to look to see how can I balance out those areas of my life. Now, if all of that just sounded like Chinese, I recommend that you watch my How to Read Your Birth Chart video. That video helps you get connected with how to read your own chart in relationship to my videos and to my weekly forecasts that I have on my website and also on the social media, on my Facebook fan page and Twitter. And one best way to get that video, if you can't find it on YouTube or on my website where it is as well, you can just email us at info@astrologercoach.com and sign up for my newsletter. So just write newsletter in the subject line, and we will also send you a recording to the How to Read Your Birth Chart video with all the handouts that are connected to that video. Okay, so if you want to do that, sign up for that. And then also on my website, you can also find my weekly forecasts every Sunday night. I post them there, so that's available to you to check out. Go to my on AstrologerCoach.com. Just go to the page that says Astrology Forecast for 2015. And yeah, if you want to join me on my Facebook fan page or on my Twitter page, the links for that are below this video. And if you have any general questions about the full moon, feel free to reach out to Sonja at AstrologerCoach.com. That's Sonja at AstrologerCoach.com. And I'm happy to answer any general questions. If you have any personal questions that require of me to pull up your birth chart, I will ask you to book a reading with me on my website on the services page. I have readings anywhere from 25 minutes to over 2 hours. So there's lots available, whatever is the perfect fit for you right now. And to book that reading, you just go on my website and book it there. And then at the bottom of that same page is also an online form that you can fill out. And then that way scheduling goes quicker and easier. All right, so have a fantastic full moon. Remember, it's an extroverted time. It's an emotional time. And because of the strong Neptune, we want to also make sure that we go within as well and have some pauses in between all the interaction with other people. All right. So have a good one. This is Astrologer Coach Sonja Francis. Goodbye.